earlier today, I did a video talking about the monsters that I felt need to get buffed in this upcoming balance patch. Several hours later, we get a balance patch pre-notice. So we actually, fun fact, a lot of the things that I mentioned in that video are actually addressed in here. Not the same buffs, but a lot of the same units that I mentioned in that video are actually addressed here. Not that I was specifically predicting them myself, it's just I was listening to a lot of the feedback from you guys, and so was ComToUs. We happen to just be listening to the same things, and that's why we both come to the same conclusion. Not necessarily the same, again, not the same buffs, but we'll take a look at that now. So, sorry if it's, I'm a little bit quiet and not as excited. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's someone sleeping in the other room. So, skill balancing of some monsters will be modified. The first one, we have the Dark BK. Frenzy, gain a turn from Frenzy is limited to 3 activations per turn, so no more crazy clickbait videos where it's 9,000 frenzies in a row for the Dark. Because he could just go absolutely crazy, right? It's not often that he does that. It's just RNG. That one small little piece of RNG where it's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go absolutely ridiculous today. So it's limited to 3 activations per turn. Light Horse is actually fairly surprising. Duty of the Monarch passive. Effect added. Recovers the ally's HP by 10% per harmful effect granted on the ally after the turn ends. Not something that I was really even thinking of him being in the balance patch, but I guess ComToUs thought. I mean, not that it's bad, but I guess ComToUs thought that he needed a little bit of a buff, so that's nice for the Light Horse owners. We have the Fire Mage, Chaos Magic Circle. This is putting those, this is putting those balls on her head. Guys, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You know what? To be honest, this would be the phrasing that I would always use, so that's not really anything. That's not really anything crazy. When you're attacked while having the magic spheres, not balls on the head. Right. Increase your attack bar by 25%. It also counterattacks. If you guys aren't familiar with the Fire Mage, it also counterattacks. So counterattacks and increases attack bar. As well with the Fire Chaos Magic Circle. Then we have the Wind Mage. I haven't even gotten a chance to play with the Wind Mage since the last buff. So this is why I really haven't said much of anything on the Wind Mage. I'm like, I kind of want to reserve my judgment until. But this is already a new effect added, decreased damage. It seemed like the last buff was good, but new effect added, decreased damage taken from the enemy by 20%. This is actually pretty good. This is actually, it makes sense. It's like they're addressing where the, I gotta give them credit. It feels like they're addressing where the unit is, like what it's supposed to be doing for a bruiser. Like this is kind of something that Christina could use too. Then we have the light. Speaking of another one, Light Mage. Time of Destruction, because we were mentioning that Light Mage and Christina are kind of in the same boat. So damage increases proportion to the enemy's destroyed HP. I believe this was, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, because I don't play with a Light Mage every day. I played with it like once. Yeah, I think once, maybe twice. But this was damage proportion to all the destroyed HP on the battlefield. Now it's just the enemy's destroyed HP. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Light Mage owners. I will defer to you for the correct information on that. I think that's what it is, but we have the Totemist, Fire Dark Totemist, Totem Friends, effect change, disturbs recovery for 2 turns, 50% chance. Now provoke for 1 turn with a 50% chance. So now it has the Fire and the Dark Totemist have strip into provoke, right? And not only is it 1 turn, now both of them are buffed from removes 1 beneficial effect on all enemies, is now removes all beneficial effects of all enemies for both of them, for Volcanic Tribe Totem and Half Moon Tribe Totem, which we were mentioning today, previously, literally a couple hours ago in the video, that Light Mage needed to get buffed. Mentioned that, didn't mention really too much of the other ones, but Light Mage, Fire Totemist. And then we also have the Dark on Muji here next, is another one that we mentioned earlier as well. Curse of Death is now, cannot recover HP while Curse of Death is granted, can change the amount of HP through skills that change the HP, like Chasun, like Atene, the Fire Undine as well. Fire Undine also in this balance patch as well. A little bit later, then we have the Lighter Revival from the Light Epicon Priest. Decreased cooldown. I don't think that makes it super crazy. Didn't they decrease the cooldown a little bit in the previous patch? Or am I just imagining at this point? I might just be imagining it. But decreased cooldown. Then we have the Chimeras. Squall from the Chimeras. Always land a critical hit when you attack the enemy under inability effects. This is pretty nice. A lot of times people using them with control teams. So I wonder if that is going to make them more meta. I'm not entirely sure. I think we'll just have to play with it and find out. Dark Harp Magician, though, this is an interesting one. So Dark Harp Magician, Song of Switch Destiny, increase the attack bar of all allies by 15%. So this is the one where she switches the HP of the enemy, but also now she's going to increase the attack bar of all allies. So now when she switches the HP of the enemy and they get basically almost a full attack gauge, she's also, for the 9,000th time, increasing the attack gauge of the allies, so the enemy that she switched doesn't get a turn. The allies that she brings with her can finish that enemy off very quickly. Also, this could be kind of an interesting trap to first pick an RTA, where you first pick this unit, and then it's like, okay, they're running a bruiser team. Like, I would assume if I see the Dark Harp Magician picked first, I'm like, okay, they're definitely running a bruiser team. She's 113 base speed, so if you have her as an attack bar booster, and you're running like a control or a cleave team, and she just happens to be like, you basically trick the person at the very beginning of the match, could be very interesting. If you have her on Swift, 113 base speed, she increases attack bar, just as a trap thing. But even without a trap, Song of Switch Destiny just allows your team to follow up and kill whatever unit you switch the HP on. So that's actually very effective on her now. So I think that's going to be really, really nice for Dark Harp Magician owners. We have the Light and Bison, Psycho Power. This is another one we mentioned earlier in the video, or earlier in the video from like a couple hours ago. Absorbs the HP of all allies by 50% each. Is now, this is buffed, not quite the exact way that we mentioned, but absorbs the HP of all allies by 30% each, and the HP of enemies by 15% each. So if you're bringing this in with Lucian, if you're bringing this in with damage dealers, which of course you always are, this just makes it easier for Lucian to finish them off with just himself. So this, I think a lot of people that have the Light Bison are going to be very excited about, just because it makes everything, like just in case like the Lucians maybe before just had a little bit of damage, like they were trying to Lucian things, and then a little bit of damage, a little bit of HP remaining on the enemies. This is just going to make it more reliable, and also the units on your team that you're cleaving with don't take so much HP. Then we have, it's the same, the Light Bison, the Light Slayer. We have this one, Fire Ken. Was not expecting Fire Ken and Fire Shadowclaw is the same thing, same unit. To have, for their third skill, removes one beneficial effect on the enemy per hit with a 30% chance. Was not expecting at all for these units to get buffed, but I think people are going to be excited about that, especially the ones that are using them in Guild Siege. So I haven't even used those units in so long. Really, after they nerfed those and the Water Striker and Ryu, and I haven't used them. I really haven't used them since then. So then we have the Hell Lady, Fire Hell Lady, immune endure effect. So this is just no condition now on the endure with the skill 3 Soul Crusher. I always feel like it never does as much damage as I want it to. I don't even care about the endure effect. I wish it did like its own defense break. So I mean, she does do a defense break and turn cycle, so I guess I really shouldn't complain about that. But it's just nice to have it without condition. I don't think that helps me for how I use it. I just always feel like she doesn't do enough damage whenever I try to use her. Wind Demon. This is another one I was not expecting at all, right? I mean, I wasn't really expecting the Fire Hell Lady either. Wind Demon. A lot of people have been picking him anti-Nana. I personally have been using him much more lately. Creates a shield equivalent to 15% of your max HP for 2 turns after attacking on your turn. So this is also a unit. He absorbs the HP from his allies as well with his skill 2. So it's just weird. It's I feel like this is kind of a random buff. Not complaining. They want to make him more meta. He does make sense in the current meta. So yeah, I do like him. We have the Lightning Emperor, Water and Light Lightning Emperor. Learn Knowledge passive. Gains 1 knowledge if you have 2 or fewer knowledge at the start of each turn. I think it's already, I mean, these units are already fairly good. I think people were countering them by just not stacking at all. That's what I like to do, is just like, oh, I have units that have buffs. I'm just not going to use the buffs. And I'll just, you know, play it like that. But he's going to stack regardless. He's not going to completely stack. He's just going to stack regardless of whether or not you use buffs. Which is nice for people that are using the Water and Light Lightning Emperors on a regular basis. So some of these Valkyrjas. So we mentioned that Camila needed a buff in the earlier video that we did today. Damage increased by 7%. We don't usually get too excited by that, right? is potentially nice because, you know, it is just potentially nice if things... Anything that does a little bit more damage is nice. That's all I'm going to say. But then we have the Valkyrja Water Camilla. Recovers HP of the ally with the lowest HP ratio by 10% at the start of each turn, excluding yourself. I don't think this is necessarily the buff that she needed. I was kind of thinking a totally different direction, but they are at least acknowledging that, like, okay, the Camilla does need something. I don't think it was this, but Camilla does need something. So there's that. Touch of Mercy, Fire Polar Queen Brandia. So, inflicted damage increased by 30% to 40% for each harmful effect or beneficial effect on the enemy. This is potentially huge for people that are using her for Rift Beast to get on the leaderboards, as well as, so that we're going to see some leaderboard shift, as well as the people that are using Brandia to nuke down bosses at the end of some of these dungeon runs for some of these super fast speed runs. So this is something that... This is going to be very interesting for the people that like to go on PvE leaderboards. That's going to be a big one. I feel it's going to be a big one. Then we have the Archangel's Fire and Dark. This is just an activation rate change from 50% to 100%, which is nice. Fire Monkey King, Fire Monkey Wand, recovers your HP by 25%, is now 20% after attacking. I had to pause the video there. I just wanted to make sure that I had all the information correct for the Fire Monkey King. This is his second skill, the Fire Monkey Wand. This is a nerf from recovering HP by 25%, is now 20% after attacking. Then we also have the Fire Monkey King buff. So I guess that what happened was they figured that the gold headband passive was probably buffed first, increasing instead of increasing the resistance, now it increased the attack speed by 5% each whenever you're attacked. And maybe they felt like it was too strong, so they decreased the HP of the Fire Monkey Wand, or it's entirely random. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to test it out. But I really do like the attack speed buff more than the resistance for the Fire Monkey King's passive, because attack speed is a stat that you can see. Obviously you see that he's faster, right? With the accuracy resistance, like, it's just an RNG stat. So I like the guaranteed stat of guaranteed this is the stat increase whenever you're attacked, versus something that's just RNG and maybe it doesn't work and maybe it does work. So that's just my opinion on that. Fire Assassin, this is really nice. It takes a long time for anyone that's tried to use the Fire Assassin. It takes a long time for her to fully stack. When she fully stacks, she ignores defense with her attack, with her next attack. But it takes quite a while for her to fully stack. So anytime enemies recover HP, if the enemies recover HP by 10 times, now it's 7 times, she will then, after that, I think it has to be on her turn. If I actually have it right here, but I think it has to be on her turn. She will ignore defense damage. We can take a look right here. Decreases HP recovery amount that all monsters receive by 50%. If the enemies recover HP 7 times now, inflict damage that ignores the enemy's defense on your next turn. So it's exactly what I said. It was, but it just took a long time to actually get that to activate. So this is actually a pretty decent unit against things like, like Molly does it, Riley does it. So if you're going up against like a bruiser, like an annoying bruiser kind of team, this is nice against that, because they have, like, they're going to heal regardless. Molly's passive is her heal, and then she has also element advantage over that. It decreases the amount that they heal, and then they can't really do anything about their heals. Riley's skill 1 is a heal. Molly's passive is a heal. So they're going to just keep healing regardless. And then she's just going to eventually ignore defense. So I think it's a nice unit for those. Not necessarily in every match. It's a niche unit, but it is nice for that kind of team. This is something that I was talking about earlier in the previous video we just did about the robos. Like, the fire robo steals a turn. Does he do anything to really disrupt? He does the strip. He does an AoE strip with the skill too. So now they actually did buff, not the exact same way, but fairly similar to the way that I was thinking that he should get buffed. I guess we're on the same, Comtuous and myself are on the same page for once. Something's wrong with the universe then. But I do think that this was actually a step in the right direction for this. When enemy gets an additional turn, increase chance of activating effects by 50% on your next attack turn, and then it resets when you attack the enemy on your turn. Then we have the Blade Crush, which is actually what I said earlier. The thing that would be the best buff for all three of them is if they just buffed Blade Crush. Now it absorbs the enemy, so it was stripping, multi-hit, AoE strip. Now it absorbs the enemy's attack bar by 10% each if you attack the enemy with no beneficial effects. So it does. I was thinking more like glancing or silence or something like that. They did absorb enemy's attack bar. I guess they didn't want to make it too OP with like a multi-hit strip into a silence or a multi-hit strip into a glancing. But this could definitely make it much. This at least interrupts their turns, strips, and then potentially, if they're speed tuned to go a certain way, would potentially change the speed tuning. Just like sometimes Triton can do if one thing resists and the other one doesn't, or Chiwu, etc., etc. So, I do actually like... I don't know if this is going to be enough, but I do like where they're going with this. Then we have the... What else do we have? Light Robo. Effect add ignores the monster's resistance. Decrease attack bar of all enemies by 50%. So ignores the resistance. Kind of like Tableau ignores resistance base. Well, Tableau works a little bit differently, but... similar-ish to that. Then we have the Fire Dryad. I actually must have missed this one. I don't remember seeing it. Decreased duration of beneficial. I was probably just excited about the Undines at the very end because we were mentioning those in the video earlier. Right. So decreased duration of beneficial effects on all enemies by 1 turn is now 2 turns each. Also, the Dark Mandrake decreased duration of beneficial effects on all enemies by 1 turn is now 2 turns as well. So those units are... I mean, Dark Dryad is kind of fun in certain situations. The Fire Dryad, I have her built on the Asia account. I'm like, okay, she's okay in certain kind of annoying like TOA stages. Like if you're going in TOA against the Dark Phantom Thieves, she's actually pretty good in that stage, but anything that has block beneficial effects is going to be good there. Not necessarily that it has to be her. I just find myself, the only place that I use her anymore is against those stages. Then we have the Dryad, Water, Fire, and Light Dryad. Honeybee Friends. Effect changed. If the allies don't have any harmful effects, all allies will recover their HP by 20%. Is now 15% without condition. Then we have extra... Undine skills for, this is their skill 1, ice drop, fire drop, lightning drop, light drop, dark drop. So this is generally like if it crits, something happens. So the ice drop is freeze for 1 turn, 35% chance. I don't know if it's going to be a situation where it's freeze if it freeze with 35% chance regardless, and then a higher chance if it crits. Because it says effect added, it doesn't say like they changed the effect. So it looks like it's going to be possibly both, where it's going to... Where is this unit? I'm trying to find this. Okay, so, yep, freeze if it lands a critical hit. I think this is going to be both. I think this is going to be freeze for 1 turn with a 35% chance, and then also, I mean, we'll see soon, and then also the freeze with a 100% chance if it crits. So that's just what it seems like over there. So that we have just added things, even if it doesn't crit for skill 1s. Then we have the Water Revive. I don't think this is going to make her meta necessarily. They're obviously acknowledging that these units need to get buffed. Grants soul protection on 3 turns. I think that really the thing with these revivers is they need to be passives. That's what it's worked well for Vanessa. It's worked well for Nana. So we see the things that, like Triana, also death prevention passive. We see the things that are in the revive. Like the only revivers that really work in the meta are like passive things. I mean, we see the Light Pioneer. I don't know if I feel like Light Pioneer owners, unless it's for like arena defense, if it's for RTA, I feel like they would probably just rather use Nana. Maybe I'm just putting words in their mouths. I don't know. If you're a Light Pioneer owner and you also like to use Nana, let me know what your thoughts are for that. I just feel like they would rather have it for passive, especially in this super control heavy, aggressive control heavy, control cleave heavy meta, right? So yeah, I just think that it's not necessarily good. This is not necessarily going to make her more usable. or more widely accepted. It's just, I think when it becomes a passive, then people are gonna take a closer look at it. Then we have the Light Undine Absolute Defense. This is another one that I mentioned that should get buffed earlier today, so it's really cool. It's not necessarily what I thought it should be, but now it's, instead of 2 harmful effects, it removes all harmful effects. It's still a single target, and it's only invincible. It's not immunity. It's not a heal or anything. It's just invincible and a cleanse. So. I don't think that this makes it. I'm more excited that they are acknowledging these units and they want to make them more useful, rather than thinking that these specific ones are going to make them somehow become part of the meta. Sleep effect will be changed. Attack will not land as a glancing hit if you attack a sleeping enemy. So I actually didn't notice this earlier because I was too focused on this stuff, and I did not notice that sleep will be changed. Not land as glancing hit if you attack a sleeping enemy. It's very interesting. Stats of some monsters will change. I did actually see this adjust the stats to match the support type. I don't think that they're going to change the speed or anything. I think it's just going to be HP and defense stats most likely. AI of some monsters will be improved. This is... Okay, so this is just the Honeybee Friends. And then skills deals damage proportional to harmful effects. To use more frequently. What about like Lucian in Giants? Just asking for a friend. Asking for the entire Summoner's War community. Skill more frequently depending on whether or not a harmful effect is granted on the attack target. Makes sense. Let's continue with this AI improvement trend. I think we have a lot of ground to cover here in the future. And then skill levels of some monsters. So this is just some bug fixes. But that's basically it for... I'm excited that there's a lot of stuff that I mentioned as well earlier for the 9 millionth time in the video that we did earlier today. But it's not necessarily that I think that these units should get buffed for me because I'm greedy. It's that I'm trying to pay attention to what a lot of people... I mean, the Undines is kind of like a me thing, as I'm like, I think that Undines should get buffed. But there are a lot of people that are mentioning these things every time we do balance patch videos, every time we do like things that should get buffed. And I try to pay attention, and I think Com2Us is trying to pay attention too. And I think that they have been trying to pay attention and buff things that need buffs in the past few balance patches as well. At least they're addressing... I'm just excited that they're at least addressing some of the things that need to get fixed. Anyway, that's it for this one. I already talked way too much. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you as always in the next one.